The Football Terrace. Thank you very much for tuning in as always. Right now, before we go any further, smash the like button for us. It's so important that we get that done right now. We're going to be delving into stories about Alex Telles. There's two interesting threads in relation to his move to potentially to Manchester United. Aside from that, I want to talk about a problem with the Sergio Reguilon move and why United may indeed be looking at Alex Telles at the same time. Both are close to being concluded, according to various media reports. And we'll delve into any other transfer news that you want to speak about today. All you need to do is call our Skype lines. They are open as of now. We want to hear from you. And we're probably going to have a little bit of a chat about the madness that was created today on social media, primarily by myself talking about net spend. It does seem to have triggered a few people. If anyone has any questions about that and the fact that net spend isn't real, and I'm probably going to talk about net spend not being real every single day forever until people get it into their heads that the concept that is sold to us as football fans that net spend is real, or how they portray it to us is very much wrong. Most transfers are paid off in installments over a period of time, and they're definitely written off when it comes to the accounting, spread out equally over the cost of the contract, like they're paying off an asset. So net spend as a base concept of what you sell versus what you bring in doesn't exist. Transfer net spend. So let me rephrase if anybody wants to speak about that. It says, sad that Terry isn't repping the new Zebra kit. Bro, I'm not wearing that kit. Honestly, I am not wearing it. It's as simple as that. Also, big shout out to Troops from AFT, or formerly of AFTV, that's got an amazing opportunity for him and his family to just improve his life further. So a big shout out to him. Sad that he's leaving AFTV, but you know what? You've got to take opportunities, when you can, strike while the iron is hot. So big up for him for doing that. There's no doubt about it. A lot of people here talking about net spend. Listen, just net spend is the basic concept of we sold £100 million worth of players and we bought £150 million worth. Thus, our net spend is 50 million. Is a colossal lie. The 100 million of players leaving could have had £50 million of wages. The new people that have come in are on £22 million. So that you should play your expenses down. So you're still going to have if you're going to use your basic myopic terms, you're still going to have a net spend, but it's about player cost. Your player cost as a whole needs to be reviewed. You might think, we sold players for 200 million and we only spent 110 million on players. It's 90 million pound net spend. What about signing on fees? What about agent fees? What about the increase in salary? All of that needs to be taken into consideration before you look at any type of net spend. It doesn't exist. Let's talk about Alex Telles, though. Make sure you're hitting that like button for me. Two different thoughts in relation to this today. His agent is reportedly in the UK, in Manchester, talking to Manchester United. There are some media reports, primarily coming out of Portugal, that say the deal is imminent, the deal is close. Man United wants him. There are contrary reports, though, that say that Wolverhampton Wanderers are on the edge of signing him. If Wolves are looking at him, maybe that's why his agent's in the UK. Maybe people have put two and two together and come up with Manchester United. Who knows in regard to that? It's going to be an interesting one to see how that transpires, how that develops, and how that moves forward. The Sergio Reguilon deal, there is a problem. And the problem is that Real Madrid want a buyback clause in the contract, and Manchester United are saying absolutely no way, no shape, or no form are we putting a buyback clause in that contract. That in itself will be hugely detrimental to Manchester United if that was to be and of course it would. Imagine that you bring in a player for 23 million. There's a buyback clause of, say, it doesn't matter if it's 10, 20, 30, 40 million. If Sergio Reguilon absolutely kills it in the Premier League, you leave yourself in a very vulnerable position where you could lose him below market value. And for all those people that think net spend is real, that's a crazy decision. So United are, in my opinion, talking to Alex Telles at the same time. I think we prefer Sergio Reguilon. That's my complete and utter interpretation of the matter. But I like the fact that we've got two Stokes in the, two sort of Stokes in the fire here, two irons in the fire, sorry. Kind of looking at it and saying, okay, well, I think we can we'll pull a left back off this summer. Let's go into some of your comments here. Someone says AFTV are done. No, AFTV are not going to be done. There's no way, shape, or form that's happening. They're too big for that. Someone he says, Indiana says, Neeks loves the kit. He needs to go full kit. If Neeks likes that kit, that's cool. But I won't be getting any fashion advice from Neeks if he thinks that kit looks good. The only person who looks good in that kit is man like David Beckham. Breaking news as well in the last hour. Decore has joined Everton. That's official now. Everton have Alan, Decore, and James Rodriguez. And we've got Ryan who joined us on the show now. Ryan, welcome to the Football Terrace. What do you want to say, my friend?
Hello, Tim.
Hi, Ryan. What do you want to say, my brother?
I feel like it's unfair how people treat Luke Shaw, to be honest.
Why? How's he being treated unfairly?
Because Luke Shaw the team because of the fact that when United play, the wing backs always go to the edge of the box. And when we're on the attack, he goes to the opposition edge of the box. But then when we defend, he's on our side. So people expecting him to be offensive is not really good because you can't expect him to attack, defend, and whipping crosses and defend and beat a man. I feel like people need to lower their expectation on what Luke Shaw can do.
No. I don't think we should lower our expectations. No. I think we should be well within our rights to say Luke Shaw, very good defender, but we need someone who is also better at going forward than he is. He's had time. He's 25 years of age. He can't stay fit. He's often overweight. He doesn't produce the outputs in both metrics that we need. Even if he was 20% more productive, I think people would give him a lesser right. I don't think it's treating somebody unfairly to have high expectations for Manchester United players. Elite KJ joined us on the call. What do you make of that, Elite KJ? Do you think that Luke Shaw's being disrespected by our links to Alex Telles and Sergio Reguilon?
No, he is not. Because it's not like he's been the best left back in the league. It's not like we've been winning the Premier League with him and he's been one of the sole reasons why we've done that. We need to improve as a team. And if bringing a player in does that, that's no disrespect. It's just, it is what it is. It's football at the end of the day. You want to make the best squad. And as a player, if you're not cutting it, no matter how much you're loved by the fans or by the media, like, you're not cutting it. Simple as. And when this is why I don't like on the United show, it's like, let me try and not talk about Luke Shaw because it just turns into this long ass debate which just goes nowhere because it's like we understand what Luke Shaw is. People either love him or they don't. So let's just leave it at that and let's just focus on the fact that we could be signing one of two very good left backs. And just doing that in itself just improves the team, no matter what. So yeah.
No, I agree with that. Amir joins us as well. I mean, obviously, we're talking about Telles coming in. The deal may be close. There are talks that he might be off to Wolves as well. You got Reguilon. Again, many reports saying the deal is close. There's just some snags in relation to a buyback clause. But do you think buying either of these players and fans expecting more from Luke Shaw is disrespectful to the man?
No, I don't think so, and I don't think it would come as a shock to Luke Shaw either. It's not like he's cemented that position for the last couple of years. Even this season alone, he's probably played about, less than 50%, just probably in and around that 50% mark, maybe a bit over, close to 60, I'm guessing, of the games. He's not been the greatest player for us in that position for many years, and there's, probably since ever, maybe, I can't remember another good left-back we've had, if I'm really honest. So, yeah, I mean, it's something that we need to address. We can't really push on towards any form of a title challenge unless we do get these starting positions secured. And yeah, I think Luke Shaw's got to go in the next couple of years because he's shown his attitude's not there. Whether he had the ability or not at the very start when he came to United for all that money, it's irrelevant. If you haven't got the work ethic, then you're not going to make it. And it's simple as that. And I think there's 4 managers that have called him out in his career for his training and eating and being overweight, all these kind of things. So, yeah, Reguilon or Telles, I'm happy for either one of them to come in and put a challenge there for that position. Just wanted to add as well, Terry, you mentioned Everton and signed everyone else. was I right in saying this time Rodriguez? I think James Rodriguez.
Yeah, Everton have signed James so far this window. 3 big signings: James Rodriguez in, Decore in, Allen from Napoli in. And you know, it is massive. And we've got to remember, they've got billionaire owners, rich owners. And this was my point. And this isn't even an attack at Arsenal specifically. This is my point around saying it isn't just about improving your team. It's about respecting other people that are already in and around your level. This is Carlo Ancelotti managing these people as well. And you know how everybody's kind of said, they're almost like a sleeping giant in many ways. They've spent big money over recent years, but never quite got it right. They've got Carlo Ancelotti as their manager. That guy is a legend of the game. And we're all talking about Arteta needs time. We all spoke about how, Klopp was given 2.5 years to build his squad. Ollie needs time to build his squad. Lampard needs time to build his squad. No one's kind of addressed that with Everton. And I think that you could be looking at a bit of a sleeping giant here. Decore, I think he'd needed a bigger team for a couple of years. He is going to do so well there. Suddenly they've added class, they've added energy, they've added ability, they've added work rate, they've added power, they've added winning mentality, and they've added a bit of a stardust to that team. And look, are they going to finish in the top 4? Not in my opinion. But this is what I'm saying about that race for the top 4 is on, because Leicester is still going to be a threat next year. There's no doubt about it. They haven't really lost anybody of any real note. I actually think they might have signed a better replacement for Chilwell than Chilwell is. Wolves are going to be Wolves again. They'll be in that top 8, top 9. They'll be pushing for top 4. Sheffield United, I'm not too sure if they can manage it again a second season, but Everton are going to be in that mix. And then you've got Tottenham that are in that mix. It's going to be such an amazing season. It's going to be brilliant. And I don't even know if Everton have done spending yet. It's going to be absolutely out of this world. I'm so looking forward to it. Indiana's on the line as well. What you saying, bro?
I gotta say something on Luke Shaw. If you're bought in and you're on big wages, you're a professional athlete at the biggest club in the world, Champions League football, you cannot be overweight. I'm sick of people defending him. If he's overweight, he's overweight. If when we bought him in, he was an attacking fullback. That's why we bought him. But if he can't perform, you can't defend him. I don't understand that. And with the Reguilon or the Tellers who come in, we're going to need a CDM.
I know what you mean.
You're going to need a CDM. You're going to have somebody to drop in. In the midfield, that all attacking players, all attacking thinking players, you need somebody to drop in. That's going to have to happen, because as much like Harry Maguire, he hasn't got the pace to cover.
Yeah, and neither does Matt.
Do what he currently does. I think he's just going to play one fullback up at a time. So
one up, one down. Yeah. That's what I think.
Yeah, it will be Wan-Bissaka back. I get that. I get there'll be 3. I get there'll be 3 back. I get that. But when we play the way we've been playing, if we play the same way, the whole midfield pushes up. You're asking the left back to get up. It's still very exposed, and we haven't sorted that centre back problem. That partnership is not a title winning partnership. That's different if you've got a real strong partnership at the back.
I get that, but I didn't see us signing any more than I always felt like 4 was going to be the maximum amount of players we'll sign. It'll be between 3 and 4, and it's trusting Ollie that he's going to get the players he wants. And we might want Upamecano. That may be who we want. And if he's not available this summer and he's available next year, it's something we may just need to wait for. And I'm going to be patient on that. But I do feel like we can have a really good season. We can push for that title. If we bring in Sancho, Alex Telles comes in with Van der Beek, those 3 alone added to what we've got, I think give us a new dimension to our team. And who knows, an update this morning from Fabrizio Romano on Thiago says that Thiago is not present at Bayern Munich's training center for medical tests. Key days are coming. Liverpool still pushing to get him, but Bayern want 30 million euros. Koeman insists that wants to have Wijnaldum as his new signing. He spoke about Man United. He goes, Chelsea had not made any interest in him. I think he wanted to make that clear again, Fabrizio. And then he goes on to say that Manchester United had contact with the agent days ago, but have not started any official talks with Bayern Munich. And when I look at that situation, I know a lot of United fans want Thiago. I think United have been told by the agent the player really wants Liverpool. However, if Liverpool don't make a proper move in the next however many weeks, we will come back and seriously talk to you. I think that's why United have not made... there's no point in bidding officially if the player right now isn't committed to wanting to be with you. And I'm happy to be second choice. If Liverpool don't make the right move because Thiago is going to come in on ball. But it's a real interesting one for me. But I think left back for me is a more vulnerable position for us than centre backs. With Bailly and with Tuan to be there as cover, I feel like we can get by this season if we bring in a quality. Because if we have a quality left back and a quality right back, I'm happy that the middle will fix itself. If we've got a better central midfield, I don't think we'll be exposed as much. You add Sancho to that attack, less teams are going to be coming at us anyway. So I think improving those areas helps to protect that central area. And then next summer, we might just buy one player. If that all works, next summer you just buy Upamecano, and that's it. That's your only, maybe another squad player or two, but that's it. You go all out, 42 million buyout clause, bang, Upamecano, final piece of the jigsaw, Premier League
Alan
champions.
Maximin as well.
Yeah, as like
I will bang on about him.
You love that guy. You got a bit of an obsession with him, haven't you?
He's got a poster on his bedroom wall. I know it.
No, he's so good, man. Listen, Alan St. Gucci, man. I'm telling you, fam. Premier League star in the making. I'm telling you.
Nah, also Zaha's better.
Oh, shut up. Zaha's not better.
No,
Zaha's better by far.
he's not. Like, they're basically the same player, but Alan St. Maximin is younger.
I tell you, Newcastle are making some signings as well,
Yeah, so apparently...
This is what I'm saying.
The holding deal is falling through because Mikel Arteta wants to keep him. This is where I want Brucey to show your true United colours. Sign Phil Jones, bro. Come on.
Exactly.
Let's go, fam. Let's do it. Sign him, Bruce.
Yeah, it's. I mean, Newcastle are making some decent signings as well. We've got a super chat here from Shane, who says, first 18 games last year, I think we had 25 points. Play the way we played in the second half. Play the way we played in the second half of the season with Bruno and Pogba fit for a full season. Fit. And a few new players, I don't think we will be too far away. So I'll get what you're saying there, Shane. I agree with you on that, Shane. I think you're right in that regard. If you look at the last 14 games of last season, once Bruno came in, we were the best team in the league. And that's why I feel like, and that's with that defense. And I think if you add 3 or 4 more players, barring centre-backs, it improves us even further. And I'm so confident going in. And as you say, you look at who Newcastle are buying, Everton are buying. Everybody's improving and getting stronger. And the Premier League teams in such a strong position because of that. Although we've lost money as well during the pandemic, we've lost a lot less in relative terms to the rest of Europe. We're still a lot richer. Yvonne, the Chelsea fan, has joined us. What are you saying, my friend?
First things first, guys. Like the video, you freeloading guys. Come on, like the video. Let's go.
You've been watching Hugh Rizzi. I love that.
I love him. Yeah, I love him. He's a very good guy. Very fun.
Who is?
But they are freeloading, and people need to like up. Otherwise, no talk. But now I actually have a little bit of an opinion on Manchester United transfers. You started the summer with this Sancho big thing and all, but as the summer and the transfer window is going by, you're shifting out of it. You are phasing out of it. You're looking to add depth into multiple positions, probably being aware that Mason Greenwood can actually fit the right wing position quite good. And you're looking at versatile players like Van der Beek. You're looking at versatile players that can fill the squad depth because you're weak on the striker. Even though Gallo is a decent player, not good enough to be a second striker to Man United.
Look, do you know another rumor that came up the other day was Jimenez to Man United, which was interesting. That really, a few weeks. Do you remember a few weeks ago there was an outlet I think in Portugal that said he's agreed terms with Man United or something along those lines. Went massive for about 2 days and then it just died away again. I think you're. See, the thing is, I think you're right in some. Look, I still think we're looking at Sancho heavily. However, our problem isn't really our main starting 11. It's the fact that our bench is so weak. So looking at 2 or 3 players to give us versatility, to give us strength in depth, it really isn't a bad thing from my point of view. And, everyone's talking about Luke Shaw. I think if you sign Reguilon or Terrace, I think Luke Shaw stays at the club. Then I want him to have a big competition. I want Luke Shaw to, if Luke Shaw raises his game and ends up outshining and becoming the player that we all hoped he would be, then the signing in itself has done its job. And then we have a backup who's brilliant. Who knows? How many times do you think we're going to, A couple of times last year, we played with 3 at the back. Luke Shaw did pretty well actually in that centre back role in the 3 at the back. We might utilize that 10 times this year. So there is rotation, there is flexibility that's needed. The problem Man United have is for me, we only really have sort of maybe 8, 9, 10 players that you look at and go, you're genuine Man United quality, and then the dip's huge. It's almost like you've got
the dip is massive.
Yeah, do you get
when there was the 5 subs during the lockdown? Yeah, we went from having Bruno, Pogba, Matic, Greenwood, Martial on the pitch, and then when we brought on our subs 3 at a time, or maybe 2 at a time, we were on the ropes again because
it was a disaster. It was a disaster.
You're completely right. The quality wasn't good enough, and this is why I'll fight back at anyone who says you don't need Van der Beek. I'm like, no. Because when we were having these matches and we was comfortable, but as soon as we made subs, we were dying. And players like McTominay was trying his best, but he wasn't good enough. Like, I don't want to hear it. We are building a squad. We are building a squad, and the only reason why people are saying, "Oh, you don't need Van der Beek," you've got the quality players already. What you're talking about is because they know that they're scared. They're making lies up in their head because they don't want us to get better. But it is what it is. But on United still, just to divert for a sec, Dylan Levitt is looking like he's going out on loan to Charlton. I just want to say, United look like not just in who they bring in, but the way that they are using the loan system is also improving. That's now another young prospect going to a club that has been calculated and not just let's just send him out to a club and hope he gets first team football. Ayew Traore went to Cannes in France. You've got Pereira going into Huddersfield. Now you've got Levitt going to Charlton, which is a League One team, but apparently the way that they play is what we're looking for Levitt to learn.
And you know what's exactly. And that's really important. And at the same time, going into like League One Championship level is so good for these youngsters because at that level, it's like a man's game. So more kind of robust tackling, more physical than the Premier League. You get away with a lot more. If you ever watch that level of football, it's, like when you watch a League Cup game, sometimes certain tackles, you think, in the Premier League, you're getting booked for that, but they let it go in the FA Cup or League Cup. And it's because you almost got these two separate kind of entities coming together, even though they're both from the British game. And it's good for their toughness. I think it's a good way of Man United looking at, can he handle the rough and tumble of real man's foot? And that's the difference between playing at academy level and then playing, suddenly you go onto the field of play and you're up against a 28-year-old who's just bigger, stronger, faster, and more experienced than you. He sends you up in the air twice. A lot of people's technical ability goes out the window. I used to see that with fighters. Best guys in the gym, train hardest, great sparrers. They get into a ring where someone's actually trying to spark their plugs and their brain would switch off. They couldn't handle it. And that's why it's good to go out and learn the way. I think you make a really great point there. And I'm just really encouraged. I've got young Hannibal to come through as well, who, again, is tipped to go on and be an absolute star. And you can't bleed too many youngsters through at the same time, but the strength in depth is imperative for Manchester United, and that's why adding Reguilon or Telles, Van der Beek, the slander I'm seeing. Mason Mount had better statistics his year that he was there. He doesn't get into these 5 teams. Oh, look, his pass completion's not as good as this guy. Listen, statistically, and everyone knows I love stats. I will go, cool. All these players have scored more goals than him. What you're then doing is you're almost being your own worst enemies. You're then taking away the second element that I review people on. There is the eye test that you go with as well. And Donny van der Beek controls games, controls tempos. He drives teams forward at the same time. He has both those components to his game. The irony is the things that people say Bruno Fernandes doesn't do, Van der Beek does in terms of holds on to the ball better, his pass completion is better, the controlling tempos of the game is there. But then the things that they laugh at Bruno, go, oh, it's just stats. They say, oh, Van der Beek hasn't got them. And that just goes to show you, one, you need a team with all types of players in to make it gel and click because it's a team sport. And secondly, and this is why I don't care what they say, because rival fans will move the goalpost in every eventuality. So based on their logic, if it's, he hasn't scored enough goals and assisted enough goals, that logic means you have to admit that Bruno Fernandes is the best in the league. No, because the eye test when it comes to this player and that player. Oh, okay, so the eye test don't count now that it's Van der Beek because his stats aren't as good. Which of the two logics do you use? I use both collectively. And when what do I say? When two players are close neck and neck on ability, then I go to stats. So I never compare. If you've got a player like Zaha who has a freak season and he equals the assist level of a Hazard, I'm never going to say he's better than Hazard because on ability-wise, you can see a clear difference over the course of time. But if ability-wise is close, then you go to the outputs. But as I said, Man United fans, don't be triggered by it. People will move the goalpost to win their little battles. And, you guys have seen what's happened to me today on social media. People just moving goalposts all the time. Like, as I've said, Chelsea have spent 320 odd million pounds on players that have been added to Frank Lampard's squad since he's been here. Okay. Oh, 2 of them he didn't sanction, or 2 of them weren't his signings. Yes, but the permanent deals and the transfers were completed when he was the manager. He had reaped the benefits. If those players didn't come in, Kovacic, your player of the year, and Pulisic, a close second, without them, you wouldn't have made top 4. He's reaped the benefits. And this is something to be proud of. People don't like hearing that. Oh, Terry, why don't you put the same pressure on Man United if Ollie spends £300 million in 2 seasons? I will. I've said already. We will. If
me as a Chelsea fan, I have to jump in here. Me as a Chelsea fan, I do not feel that either Pulisic or Kovacic were, let's say Lampard. They came literally before Lampard was assigned.
Okay,
and that was basically done.
So now you're getting into the technicalities of it. So Pulisic was signed before it was announced. It was
in
loaned.
January.
Yes.
Was in January. Kovacic was.
Okay, let me just put this out there. So 2 things on that. The reason why Lampard's announcement was delayed is because Chelsea was sorting out compensation with Juve. So there was an overlap. Yeah. But Lampard was consulted over whether or not he wanted Chelsea to complete the signing of Kovacic. He said yes for multiple reasons. One of the biggest being, well, we really do need him to stay because otherwise... So if Lampard would have said, no, he isn't good enough, you wouldn't have sanctioned that. So if we don't live in this cloud cuckoo land of Lampard didn't have any consulting or any say in what was going on at Chelsea before he was officially announced as manager. We know this isn't the case. Chelsea would have consulted him. So we can argue over semantics, but he was added as a permanent signing in Lampard's first summer. The Pulisic deal, I'm not denying that it was a Sarri signing. However, that new player and that money was added to Lampard's squad in a time of desperation because without that, you would have had nobody to replace Eden Hazard.
You're right there. You're right.
Did you get my point? So this isn't about attacking Lampard. This is saying that you have had £320 million worth of talent added to your squad since Sarri. Let's change the wording. Since Sarri left, you've had £320 million worth of talent added to this squad. Let's remove Lampard from it. Do you know what's interesting?
Yeah.
A lot of Chelsea fans consider Didier Drogba to be a Jose Mourinho signing. It was agreed that he was coming under Carlo Ancelotti. So do you guys credit Carlo Ancelotti for that signing, or do you praise Jose for turning in Drogba into that player? Drogba's expectations were what his club spent on signings or signed that summer. No one cared whether half those deals were done before him coming through. Jose Mourinho at Man United. People, Pogba was he signing? Yeah, United were 7 months, 8 months in negotiations bringing him in, ever before we spoke to Jose Mourinho. So do we not put the pressure on Jose Mourinho to get a tune out of a player that was signed before? Was it the club were trying to sign before Jose was appointed? Of course not. He came in the same summer as Jose, and Jose rightfully had that pressure put against him. And that's all I'm doing is keeping that same energy. It's as simple as that for me.
Yeah, you just mixed them, Carlo Ancelotti with Ranieri. Ancelotti was after Mourinho's first.
Did I say Carlo Ancelotti? I meant Claudio Ranieri. Sorry, slip of the tongue. Slip of the tongue in that. But you get my point. This isn't about attacking Lampard and saying he should have pressure and nobody else should. This is me saying a club in just over 12 months has spent £320 million on players and could go towards £400 million if Declan Rice and Mendy come in. To not turn around and say that they should be challenging for a title, I think is disrespectful. Equally, Man United have currently spent $227 million in that same time period on players. If we land Sancho, that puts us past $330 million. If we then sign 2 more players collectively for $60 million, that puts us up to near $400 million ourselves. My expectations will be exactly the same as Lampard's. No change in energy. What I think it comes down to is this, and I want your opinion. I think fans have become obsessed with the Moneyball theory. We want to try and make it sound like we bought cheap and developed a brilliant team. Teams also want to be looked at as an underdog story. Fans are desperate for their Disney moment. They're literally desperate for their Disney moment. We are the champions to play at the end. We did it against all odds. We fought from nothing. We rose from the ashes. This is a sort of rags to riches story. No one in the top 6 can claim that ever, because all our clubs turn over multiple millions of pounds, but everyone's desperate for it. Not every Chelsea fan. A lot of the Chelsea fans I see, what they want is this notion of, oh, we've got to try and sell it as Lampard, the fledgling manager, the transfer ban, losing Eden Hazard. You know, we were struggling and he came through and inside 2 years, he becomes Premier League champion. It's like, bruv, you spent nearly £500 million.
I think that I legit think that stems from when Leicester won the league.
Yes, everybody wants their Leicester moment, and no one.
Ever since Leicester won the league, all these stories about how our teams we're such in a bad position, and to win the league is the greatest moment in history. Is like no, bruv. Like, listen, Leicester has the greatest sporting moment in football history. I don't care what anyone says. Let them have that. Just accept the fact you're bigger than them. You can spend more money, and you're doing what you should be doing, which is trying to win the league.
Absolutely,
with the assets that you've got,
and be proud of it. And one last thing I'll say, and I'll go to the floor. From my point of view, is this: Man United have been terrible for 7 years. If Ollie wins the league this year, it's romantic for me as a Man United fan. It's beautiful for me as in that way. Do I think we're underdogs? We're underdogs in terms of we're behind Man City and Liverpool. But we're not an underdog story. We are not a small team with a shoestring budget. You know, in a cold light of day, if we sign the rest of our targets this summer, Ollie would have had spent between 300 and 400 million pounds, which is a third of $1 billion. I'm not going to call us an underdog story. We can't be. You don't spend that much money and be underdogs. It's an absolute fallacy and weakness.
Yeah, I agree with this, but I have to say, you know, Chelsea fans looking for a fairy tale, guys, we had it in 2012. We won the Champions League with an assistant manager. After finishing, what was it, 7th, 8th we were? It was a disaster of a season. We won the Champions League. It was like I was on the knees in the middle of cafe when Didier Drogba scored a header, you know? That was the fairy tale for me, you know? I was like, oh, what is happening? Sorry?
Was that the guy who came in? Was this the same guy we're talking about? The one with the little ball patch from Dimitrio, the one who came in?
Exactly.
See, somebody.
Guy was not
look. Someone said to me, guys. Someone's left a comment here saying, Terry, Jose Mourinho said that he demanded Roman Abramovich must buy Didier Drogba when the Chelsea owner questioned who the striker was back in 2004. But then Claudio Ranieri has also said in an interview only a year ago that Didier Drogba was my idea, and I told Chelsea to sign him. This is the point. Like, people will seek their information from where they want, and then you get stuck in the weeds, and it becomes about semantics. That's why my logic prevails, and I'm not trying to sound arrogant. Who was the guy that deserved the pressure for Drogba to be delivered is Jose, because Jose thinks it was his idea. Ranieri thinks it's his. Let's not get stuck in the weeds. He came the same summer as Jose. Jose had the responsibility of turning him into the player that he is. For me, Sarri has nothing to do with the Pulisic signing. It's all on Lampard as the manager to handle that. That player is the Drogba signing, whether it was Ranieri's idea or not, it didn't do anything for Ranieri. All it did was improve the squad that Jose Mourinho had. He nurtured it, and he went bang, and he sent it out there. It's a nonsense. As I say, that's why I don't get stuck in it. You know, when Man United signed Wilfried Zaha, I put it down to David Moyes for not getting it, partly to blame for not getting it to work. Yeah, Fergie signed him. 100%. Fergie signed him, but it wasn't Fergie's fault that he didn't work out. Moyes didn't know how to handle him. Plus, the player might have had his own problems. But at the end of the day, that was an additional signing that summer. That was a new piece of blood that summer for David Moyes to work with, and he didn't make it work. You know, he came in.
Moyes was out of his depth in a lot of places. It wasn't just Zaha. He was out of his depth completely with a lot of places, and in a lot of places with a lot of players. His system, everything. It was just everything about it was poor for me.
Yeah, but on the topic, to be honest, like, I actually would believe more Ranieri than Mourinho, because even though Mourinho is a legend of Chelsea, we won a lot of trophies every time he came, but he let go Kevin De Bruyne, Lukaku, and Salah in the same season.
You know what? Yeah, these kind of arguments are all just pointless, because what happened has happened, isn't it? So who really cares at the end of the day? You know what I'm saying?
To be fair, it still hurts me. When I see Kevin De Bruyne in Man City's shirt, it still hurts me, you know?
Yeah, and I get that, boys. And like I say, you can get stuck in the weeds on all these. KJ's right. You can get stuck in the weeds on all these debates. And that's why, for me, it's like I just cut a clear line. Like I've said, if for whatever reason Ollie steps down tomorrow and the day after Poch comes in, we've still signed Van der Beek. I still demand the new manager. I would still consider well, I don't care how you word it. I would still consider Van der Beek a Poch player in the sense of you're going to get the benefit of giving this guy this debut and working him into your team. Your squad has still had this investment made into it so that you can push forward. And especially if the manager likes the player, especially if Poch is like, oh, this player's the guy for me, plays him regularly, starts to build a team around him. Like for me, I wouldn't be like, oh, actually, I'm going to give Poch. Van der Beek can now fail, and I won't hold Poch accountable because Poch didn't actually sign him. When you've got a class player, it's down to every manager that manages him to get something out of him. If Ollie leaves tomorrow and another manager comes in and Martial goes backwards, are you not going to hold the newer manager accountable? You know, Man United fans hold Jose accountable for making Rashford and Martial go backwards, but he wasn't the manager that signed him or gave him their debut, so why is he accountable? The same logic. It just fails. This nonsense of trying to create fairy tales is just weird. Monstar, what are you saying, bro?
I'm just going to say, I just heard one of the guys on the phone say Jose Mourinho is at fault for the Kevin De Bruyne and all these guys, you know, being sold. And Mo Salah and that. But at the time, if you look at the context of the situation, we had Oscar and Mata in front of Kevin De Bruyne. There was no way he was going to get into the team. So I don't necessarily fully blame him for the sell of Kevin De Bruyne. I know a lot of people do, but if you look at it, at the time, we had better players. And Kevin De Bruyne was not getting in that team.
I agree to disagree because there is a different way how you can actually manage the situation with the player. Okay. You don't send him on a loan to Wolfsburg, I think it was, or Bremen, Kevin De Bruyne. I don't really remember. I just remember a Greek shot in my head. Yeah.
Bremen.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. For later to sell him to Wolfsburg for 20 million for Wolfsburg after 1 year of playing them to go to City.
Right.
1
year
do
you know that the money that was that he was sold that they used to sell De Bruyne was used in the funding of the likes of Fabregas and Diego Costa to Chelsea.
Yeah, yeah. And you tell me that.
So Ivan. So what I would say about your point there is, Jose has no accountability on where the club sold him to and for how much. That's dealt with by the board. So that's a board issue, not a Jose issue. Chelsea, we've spoken about this many times on the show. The issue Jose faced at that time is what every Chelsea manager has faced up until now. And maybe Lampard will face it. We don't know yet. We can only tell after the fact. Where if you don't win now, you're sacked. I'm telling you, as far as eggs, Jose would have wished that he had the time to develop the Kevin De Bruynes and the Mo Salahs, but you've never been given that at Chelsea, and it's why the jury's still out as to whether or not the young players you've bought and that have come through your academy will be given the time to shine. And we'll know that if come the end of the season, if you finish third and 30 points off the top after spending all this money, if Roman sticks with Lampard, then for me, we're starting to see the massive signs that it's about building something over a medium to long term and not just let's go and win now. If Lampard gets sacked after that, even if the football's better, but you just don't quite get the victories, that tells me that will then stop the new manager from giving youngsters the chance. The new manager is going to come in and say, look, I know Mason Mount and I know this guy and I know that guy are going to be good, but I can't play you now because I can't play you now because you're going to leave too many holes and I'm going to lose my job and I want to be a success. Look at Reece James. Towards the end of last season, I saw Reece James get dragged off at halftime or early in games, maybe 50, 60 minutes in, 2 or 3 times. That isn't because he's a bad player. It's because he's young and inexperienced. Now, if this season Reece James keeps getting exposed at right back and it's costing points, if Lampard's job's secure with developing youngsters, they will allow for those points to be dropped in those games to sometimes, those games to not always be won because it's part of the education of the player. If suddenly in January, Pereira's bought from Leicester for £55 million and put in as a replacement, the club is like, listen, we haven't got time to develop them. We have to win. And to win, we'll spend whatever money we have to, but we're not going to develop. That's when you'll get your answers. If Reece James flies and looks brilliant, then it's fine because he's good enough. The point with Chelsea is, I've found, is with their youngsters that are very good but not quite there yet, they're not given the opportunities. Eden Hazard, he came in young. He was delivering to a standard they wanted. Does that make sense? But if he was hit and miss like Mo Salah, like Kevin De Bruyne was at that age, he wouldn't have stayed in the first team. And that's the difference. Exactly. And until Chelsea prove they've changed that model, and you won't know that until everyone can have their theories, but you'll know 2 or 3 years in, if the likes of Reece James are not perfect, but they're still playing regularly, then they're developing youngsters. If they're sitting on benches, they're not being developed. Sorry to say that. And that's that for me. People keep saying in the comments I'm being salty. It's not about being salty. It's about being factual. You know, it's a fact.
No, just to say something, yeah. At that point, it was Mourinho's second homecoming. Let's name it like that, right? It was like that. He had the perfect situation where he had these kids on the bench. Yes, he didn't play them. He loaned them out. Lukaku went West Brom. Kevin De Bruyne went Werder, and Salah went, I think, Fiorentina. Correct me if I'm wrong. But he could have actually, as a manager of Chelsea, said to Abramovich, hey, these are talents for the fucking future. Yeah, sorry. For the future. Yeah. And he could have done the same thing he did in the first league. Mr. Abramovich.
You
know
what? Wait, Monster, can I just but my God, when Jose's second coming, that you had, you already know what kind of manager you is. So why are you upset? Why are you surprised?
Do you know what gets me angry? Yeah. Listen, at the time, no Chelsea fan cared about Kevin De Bruyne. They did not care about Mo Salah. The only person Chelsea were mad, fans were mad that Chelsea let go was Juan Mata. No one cared about Kevin De Bruyne when he left. You guys only care now that he's a successful player. When we sold him, you didn't care. None of you cared.
When Salah left, I saw Bear Man being like, "Oh, good, this is crap." You know what I mean? We don't need him anyway. And now you twerking.
Yeah. For Salah, it is true. I said the same, but I actually said even to my dad, because he's also a Chelsea fan back in the day, and told him selling Kevin De Bruyne and Lukaku will bite us in the back one day. So
and maybe it has, but equally keeping them, they might not. But they might not have developed with you. Players. This is the thing, and I get your point, bro. But hindsight is a very, very lucrative commodity, and for me, it's done and it's past. My point, which is how we ended up getting to this, is for me, fans are getting too hell bent on like fans are becoming almost like the media now. So we've got to push the narrative in this direction. We have to take. We won't accumulate like Kovacic and Pulisic. They're not going to be his signings, right? We'll try and shave off a few million here and a few million there. We've got to get the price down for how much Lampard has spent, because how we need to spin this if we win the league, it's the underdog story of the century. It's the returning legend who's made us champions. And by the way, it's romantic without twisting things. If Lampard wins you the title, it is beautiful whether he spends £1 million or £1 billion. You shouldn't give a damn what you're spending because you have the money. Go out and do it. Net spend, proven it many, many times, is an absolute fallacy. And Chelsea fans are the interesting people on this. You get disrespected more on net spend than any other club because everybody disregards your tens of, if not hundreds of millions of pounds that you bring in a year in loan fees. No one counts that. And they do, because your club has one type of net spend, and it's the P&L. Money in, money out. That's it. And you look at your cash in, cash out. That is what you look at. And at the end of the day, you might sell £100 million worth of players and buy 200 million. But how much are you saving, or how much additional are you spending on salaries? What were I said to somebody earlier, right? You sell for 200 million and buy for 100 million. What's the net spend? Oh, it's £100 million. Yeah, but you've just done, what about the agent cost for the players you bought? What about the fact that there's an increase in salary now of 50, 60% on the new signings that have come in? Oh, well, yeah, but that isn't transfer spend, is it? Exactly. But in real terms, it comes out of that. But then equally in the other direction, but you've loaned out 15 players this year for a total of £62 million in loan fees. Why is that not being counted? Like, to help you. None of that gets included, because all it's done is people look at it like they're playing FIFA or a Football Manager, or they're reading the Sun newspaper. Transfer net spend is it's a fabrication. It doesn't exist in any way, shape, or form. And if you're a football club that has owners that pump money in, if you're a football club like Man United, whose commercial revenues are huge, your myopic transfer net spend is often going to look bad because you're not in a position where you have to sell players to make big money, which means in the negotiating sense, you often let players go cheaper because there isn't the necessity to negotiate these big prices. Where you're a club like Olympique Lyon, without selling your players for large sums of money, you can't operate as a business. You're harder to do business with. And it's those models are understood across the market, and it dictates how you. I'll give you an example. Some people that are rich are quite tight with their money, right? But I know a lot of rich people who are just like, I know a guy. I do know this guy. He never wears the same pair of socks or the same t-shirt or shirt twice. Imagine his net spend on clothes. It's huge. But in real terms, he earns more money a day in interest than I earn in a month in salary. So in real terms, his net spend is in the pluses. He doesn't care that he spends, I don't know, £500 a month on brand new shirts that he never wears again. Because in the cold light of day, his incoming each month far outweighs his outgoings by 10 to 1. So every month he's getting richer, not poorer, because he's buying new clothes every month. But if you only focus on, oh my God, he's losing his money. Why? Well, he spends £1,000 a month on clothes and never wears them again. He's going to go broke. No, he isn't. No, he isn't. And that's the same with football clubs. And people have got to get this nonsense of net spend out their head, because it skews things. The way I assess it is this: how much money have you spent on players in this last year or two? 400 million. Then we build our expectation on that and the current quality of your squad. I don't care that your net spend was 100 million or your net spend was 300 million. That's irrelevant to me, because that's dictated by your business model. And equally, a lot of clubs that have good net spend, why are you celebrating the fact that your best players want to leave, bruv? Why is that something to be happy about? It's a it's a madness. It's just,
You sound like an Arsenal fan.
oh, I hate it. I hate it. Why are you celebrating it?
Talking about transfers and potential players and the young players coming through clubs. Apparently, Liverpool are potentially going to let Brian Brewster leave on a permanent deal.
What?
We've made
Crystal Palace.
maybe a buyback clause in there if they can get there.
Brewster was never going to be good enough when the fact that he was sitting on bench and never getting opportunities. He was never going to be given opportunities and let go out. But there we go. Sorry.
Terry,
I think that's how he was celebrating his one little medal that he got as well, wasn't it?
Oh, that was embarrassing.
do we know if anyone else is in for Reguilon?
Seville were
giving up.
It's because the Monty, the director, has just released a statement. I don't know whether you read it regarding the issue of Sergio. I already said we would love to have him here, but it's complicated because there are economically very strong rivals with whom we are not in position to fight.
Who has said this? Who has said that? Sorry.
That's Monty, the Sevilla director.
Yeah, I mean that main competition is United. He's been offered to us as a player. The stumbling block with Reguilon, which is why I think we're also talking to Tellus, is United again are going to do great business where they're not going to allow a buyback clause for Real Madrid. Because again, imagine I know people, you might convince them to sign a new deal without one in 3 years, but we might not. Imagine he comes in, and he kills it, and he's worth 80 million in the market.
With the buyback clause, does that not mean is it not only active when you guys want to, if you guys want to sell him, or is it active?
No, it's active.
Yeah, it's active. It depends on what they're trying to put in. There's variations. There are some where if they hit the amount, it's like a release clause, but only for that football club. Other times it's if we want to sell him, but often when you do that, it's below market value because you never know what the market value is going to be. So they might put a buyout clause in of 40 million. The player may say in 3 years I want to leave, but his market value is 80 million by then. Because imagine he comes in and he's better than Trent and better than Robertson. Liverpool fans, calm down. This is hypothetical. Relax your brains, right? But imagine he is, and he's worth 80 million, but we can only get 40 million. It's bad business. What you need to do as a football club is protect your assets. Remember, and this is why another reason net spend is silly. If you buy a player for 30 million and you're paying off over a 3-year contract and you're paying off 10 million a year, after year one, you paid off 10, you owe 20, right? So you owe 20 on the player. But if after 1 year you sell him for £50 million, what's the profit?
What was that one on?
Well, the profit's 30 million. And the reason you know that is because obviously there's a financial year. That first year you've spent of 10 million is already gone. So you can't, that's finished now. You're moving on. You only move forward in terms of the finances. Otherwise, it's weird. Otherwise, you could, if you're going to look at Man United's finances, you could look at how far do you go back? You have the cutoff point, right? So then United have sold him for 50, but they still owe 20, but they've made a £30 million profit. That's how it actually works. That's why transfer net spend is, people go, oh, we bought him for 50 and we're selling for 100 million. So our profit is 50 mil. Not necessarily. You have to look at how much you paid for the player, how much you still owe on the player as an example. So United don't want to have a situation where we pay 23 million for him, but then he's worth 80 in the market, but there's a buyback clause for Real Madrid at 40 million pounds. We'll still make a profit, but it's a minuscule amount of what we want to make. And you have to protect your assets at all times. And that's why clubs pay things off over a slow period of time via amortization, and they depreciate the valuation. That way, each year they can write off what they've paid and still declare a profit. From an accounting point of view, you can make a profit on a player that the myopic net spend says you broke even on. But in fact, you might have made £30 million profit.
Yeah. Would you take a first refusal clause where it's not necessarily a set price, but if someone comes in for him they have a chance to put in.
That could end up being the compromise, if that makes sense. That may what they're compromising in the end. But yeah, and again, these are the deals where I want Man United to be better, where we're not putting stupid buyout clauses in. We're not putting these buyback like low price where we lose people. You know, we've got to stamp our authority. We're Manchester United football, and that's why I'm annoyed at Chelsea fans for, oh, we don't spend that much money. Embrace it, bruv. Embrace it. Embrace the fact that you have got the money to spend and be proud of it. Not, oh yeah, but you're saying, oh Terry, you said we spent 312. It's only been 308 million. Why are you arguing over that? What is the point? What does it change? You still spent big. It's like, you know what I mean? It's crazy. It's like if somebody shortchanges you a couple of penny in a shop. If you're arguing over that, you've got problems. Like, seriously. I know people think it matters. For me as fans, it shouldn't matter at all. Shouldn't matter one bit.
Yeah.
No, it's true. Like, all you want as a fan, all you want is your team to improve and get better. And if that means you spend £1 billion, you spend £1 billion at the end of the day. Because when you're complaining that your team are getting better, and it's because you ain't spending enough, you'll be screaming, but why aren't we spending? So shut up. You know what I mean? Be happy. Chelsea hands, just shut up and be happy, fam. You could be going around right now,
exactly.
Everyone broke, boys, with your chest out. But you're two there trying to worry about, but my club's going to be seen as a money club. Who cares, fam? You've had the best transfer window.
We're buying the league, mate. Don't worry about it.
Exactly, and take it on the chin. And the thing is, I've said this before, right? You're spending a lot of money, but you're not buying the league. There's additional pressures that come with spending all this money because you're expected to win. The pressure on Lampard is legitimately higher now than if you only sign 2 players, which means if he manages that and makes you champions, he's handled that pressure. Like people call Pep, checkbook manager. I think in some respects that's harder. When there's the expectation on you to deliver, it's true. It's harder. Embrace it. Finesse it in your way. Stop trying to don't say we spend money. So does everybody else. Yeah, so what? But we're talking about you right now. You know, that kind of I hate whataboutism as a general rule. Like when we're talking about Chelsea, but Man United has spent lots of money. Yeah, and when we're talking Man United, when they're the subject matter, bring that up, bruv. But right now, Chelsea are the subject matter. You saying that Man United have spent big money as well and my view is this, doesn't make my expectations for Lampard any less because other teams have spent money. That makes no sense to me. That makes zero sense whatsoever in the cold light of day. You know, my children, I'm going to have the same expectations for all 3 of them. They're all going to be given the same opportunities in life. God willing, and everything being equal, they're all going to get the same opportunities, the same schools, the same chance to go to uni. They're going to get pushed in the same way, taught the same work ethic at the end of the day, right? I'm not going to be pushing one of my kids. Oh, what about her? She's going to get pushed as well. But I'm focusing on you right now, son. You've got to do these things. Forget what your sister's doing. Forget what your brother's doing. I'm focusing on you. I'm putting the same pressure on all of you. But right now, you're the subject matter because your score reports come in and you're behind. Yeah, but she did this. I don't care what she did right now. We're talking about you. Stop trying to deflect onto other people. Stop being, by the way, I haven't spoken to my son like this. He ain't that old yet. I'll tell him straight. Stop being weak. Right now's on you. The only successful people, organizations, businesses in life are people that own their own mistakes, own their own pressures, and go out there and deliver. If you want to pass the buck here, pass the buck there, what about him? What about her? What about this? You will amount to nothing as a human being. I'm really sorry to say that you won't if you're always passing that buck because Chelsea Football Club have the expectation to win the league. Man United have the expectation to win the league. Why are you as fans trying to play that down? Why are you being weak with this? Back your club, back the spending, get behind your team, embrace it, 8 Mile the damn thing. Instead of, oh, no, we're not really spending that much, relatively speaking. If you look at inflation, we're £100 million down on what we spent 20 years ago. Hush, bruv. You're spending big. Embrace it and shush.
Get your chest out, people.
That's why it kind of angers me when people say, oh, why are you putting Lampard under pressure and all that stuff? But it's like, bruv, do you not know who Roman Abramovich is? Abramovich, sorry. Right.
It's true, and it's not. And the thing is, I'll put Oli under pressure if we pull these signings off. But that doesn't necessarily mean if we don't achieve what I want, I'm going to say he's got to go. Context then needs to be applied. If you guys don't win the league, but you push Liverpool to the final day of the season, all Chelsea fans will be happy because we're nearly there. We'll go next year. But if you finish 5th or you scrape 4th, there has to be an inquest amongst the fans at the very least. So hang on a minute. We've had nearly £1 billion, £500 million, spent on this squad in a year and a bit. And Lampard, struggled to finish in front of Everton, there's got to be questions asked. There has to be. And to say there shouldn't be, for me, means I think you're lying to yourself. That's just my view on it. But listen, man.
Abramovich will have questions, definitely.
Oh, Abramovich won't even have questions. Abramovich will have your P45, bruv. He will. You'll walk in, it'll be sitting there.
I think Lampard is under a lot more pressure than Ollie. A lot more pressure than Ollie.
Right now, probably he is. Probably
no,
right
definitely for who Abramovich is. He is instant. He is that instant guy. That's how he is in business. And I think, for him, it is a business, isn't it? The football club is a business. He will want. We were saying earlier off air that he will. What is a good season for Lampard? What is a good season for him? Is finishing second with no trophies a good enough season?
Yeah. I mean, Ollie's a PE teacher, so there ain't really much pressure on him anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's a lot of the questions coming here, Cherry. Why is it the pressure on Ollie? I'm like, well, again, get your story straight. So this is what I would say to rivals. I'm going to put pressure on Ollie if we pull these signings off. However, get your story straight. If this is to Daniel, I'm talking to. If you call Ollie a PE teacher, a trash manager with no idea, you can't put the same pressure on him as you do a manager that you're saying is elite and is going to go to the top, because you're already saying he isn't good enough anyway. So you wouldn't apply the same pressure. When you work in a business, when you look at your strikers, are you going to put the same pressure on Batshuayi this season as you are on Timo Werner? Are you going to put the same pressures on your best centre-back as you do against your worst centre-back? No, because you don't think they're as good. So again, if you want to say that Ollie is in the same company as the Artetas and the Lampards and the Peps and the Klopps, put your chest out and say Ollie should have the same expectations. If you're saying he's a PE teacher, your expectations can't match. Remember, when you go for these cheap shot little bits of banter to try and win your little battles, you can never win the war, because you undermine yourself at every single step of the way. You fool. You've done yourself, Danny boy. You've done yourself. Now delete your comments like a good little boy and jog on. But do you understand my logic there? You can't say he's a trash manager and then put high expectations on him. That doesn't make sense on a real conversation.
I understand what Ollie's doing, Terry. That's the thing. He's the right man for the job right now.
Yeah,
and that's what it is. No real football fan, not United fan, but no real football fan is looking at Ollie in the same light as they would look at a Pep. Nobody is.
Oh no, the thing is, you're Indiana, even a Lampard and Arteta, they've already wrote Ollie off to that point. So I'm like, all right, cool. If that is the case, then everyone should be embarrassed that you finished below him. You know what I'm saying?
And that's the point. As I quote tweeted Frank Khalid today, that's doing that. It was a funny video with the Mr. Bean pulling all the pens out, and it is funny.
That was me. I put it.
I think you might have sent it to me. I saw it, and I'm like, cool. Then you better finish above us, and that's where fan banter can come in. But equally, if you say we're a trash squad, trash manager, you've had a better transfer window, there is zero excuse to not finish in front of us. But when you say that, it's, well, why aren't you putting the same pressure on your team? Because you said you're better than us. So are we equal or are you better than us? If you're better than us, the expectations can't be the same. Get out of that one, Perry. You can call me a waffler, but that's because you know I'm far too intellectual for you. I'm too intelligent for you. I'm too smart for you. That's why you're insulting me. Next, your hairline, bruv. Your hairline. You this, you that. Rare. Cool, bruv.
Oh, listen, remember, he's a fraud. So Terry's not even bold, people. With the stuff.
I just shave it off on purpose. I even I do it. It's all an act. I'm going for the Phil Mitchell. Like I said before, like you can't call someone trash and then put expectations on them. They're either very good, so say they're very good. People go to me, Terry, you always set Liverpool up for failure by saying how brilliant they are. So if they don't win, you can say they should have done. So what do you want me to say? They're not good enough then? If I say they're not good enough and they shouldn't be expected to win, you'll say I'm a hater. Which of the two do you want?
Every football fans do this. They want to trash on every other team, but then expect everyone else to praise their team like they're the best. That ain't gonna happen, B. It ain't how football works, innit? So just take the banter on the chin.
Exactly. I can take it.
Get your expectations, say it with your chest, and ride it all the way home. And if it don't work out, you still have your chest out. Monster, I know if you don't win the league, you'll find some next excuse to say, oh, well, yeah, but this, that, and the third.
We're winning the league. I'm not hearing it. We're winning the league.
Exactly.
And I love that. And we'll banter each other. But what I know with Monster is I could rip into his opinions and banter on this and just take it. Be like, yeah, I have said that and I own it. And you're this. And it's cool. But too many people are sensitive. They want to throw it all out. You know, my dad always used to say this to me as a kid. I got teased. He went, "But do you wind people up?" Yeah. You can't give it. Don't give it if you can't take it. And that's the problem with football fans. Everyone's weak. Not everyone. All these people are weak. It's like, I'm going to give it out and slag all these clubs off. Terry just said we've spent a lot of money. Oh, I can't handle it. I'm melting. You literally melt. You melt. Super chat here says the PE teacher managed third. We will just see who the PE teacher is next season. I think that's what he meant. Yeah, listen, we will. And again, imagine the PE teacher finishes in front of all these elite managers and clubs again for 2 years running. The embarrassment they're going to face is a madness. But boys, I appreciate you all coming on, having your say. All the viewers, whether we agree or not, this is the point. No echo chambers. Take it on the chin. Man up. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.
I have a quick question.